Good.
Alex, I kick off by asking you about something you mentioned at the end of the last game. There seemed to be real feeling in your voice when you said, Harlequins, we owe them one. Can you just explain the sort of the lingering sort of feelings after that 24-12 defeat?
There's no lingering feeling towards me and Harlequins. It's probably, and I don't want to make it personal. I can't make it personal, but there's deep-seated, deep-rooted feelings. Maybe because I've been a London rival for so many years, and I've been at the worst end of a couple of results, and they're a side that let you know it when they do win. So they're not very gracious in victory. We felt that down there. And it's always nice to put a bit of animosity, inject a bit of animosity in that north-south divide that there is.
And just looking at them, away from their personality as a team, their effectiveness, they score a lot of tries, but they concede a lot of tries. How dangerous are they, Alex, in terms of teams in the Premiership?
Well, you said it yourself. They're probably the most dangerous team on transition turnover, and I think all the stats indicate that they're the second most devastating team, ball in hand, in terms of metres made and defenders beaten, and the rest of that second only to Bristol. So we've got a very similar challenge in terms of the threats that they pose this weekend, with a little bit more unpredictability, I'd say.
Great, thanks, Alex.
Cheers, Chris.
Hi, Alex, Nick Cleary here.
Hey, mate.
Hi, just ask you again about Manu. We've just been speaking to him, obviously. He's obviously now had time on the field. How heartening is that for you, obviously, as his director of rugby, but also more particularly as a rugby fan yourself, to see talent out there after yet another long rehab from injury?
Yeah, it's brilliant, Mick. It's brilliant. It's brilliant to see someone that good, who's worked as hard as he has, to get another opportunity to have a crack at it on a big stage at the right time of the season, knowing that he's still potentially, I believe, got some of his best rugby in him. As a director of rugby, having him, like I said last week, I hailed him after the game, having him back in the team's a bit of a glue. He raises people's average performance, not so much through his direction, but through his ability to motivate the small comms, the small communication that he has, the relationship that he has amongst the players. It lifts the team when he's on the field, and then add that to what he can do, ball in hand, and when the opposition look at the ball, he's going to add, isn't he? So very, very excited to see him back out there, like you say, as a fan, and more so of a director of rugby, and to be involved in Sale, because it means a lot to the other boys.
Can I just, I know you probably won't like answering it, in terms of England or the Lions, obviously that's going to be on a radar somewhere, even if it doesn't happen. In terms of where he is physically and I guess emotionally, mentally, would that be a possibility with all the caveats of he's got to play himself through a few games for Sale first, etc., etc.? Yeah,
it's purely form now, Mick.
Yeah,
because we've seen instances of him being physically at his best in training. Some of his touches and his timing has been brilliant, so it's purely him finding form in the field, and that's kind of down to me to get him as much game time as possible without affecting the consistency of the team, in a very important part of the year.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, mate.
Hi Alex, just one from me really. He talks about kind of Manu's impacts off the bench on Friday night, and another player which I kind of noticed who had a similar sort of impact was Rafi Quirk. I mean, as I'm right in saying that away game at Quins is when I think a lot of people stood up and took notice of him. So how important is he going to be in terms of this running and then into the playoff as well? Because obviously we know fast quality, but to have Rafi come in and make such an impact must be an extra string to your bow in terms of attack.
You've said it all there, Chris. Honestly, you can quote yourself on that.
Nah, I won't, Alex. I won't quote myself.
He is. You just bring him on, and because it takes a bit of balls to have some faith in it in your bench. But time after time after time, I brought these young lads on. and they've closed games out. That's all Rafi knows. He thinks his role is to come on, be a spark, give energy, play in the right areas, and then kick the ball off in extra time and win a game. He's done it 5, 6, 7 times. So I know he's enjoying his rugby, but it's not why I bring him on. I bring him on because he adds. When last week, I still believe the game was won in that first half with the defensive performance, and yet all the points came in the second. So Faf kind of teed him up, and Rafi came on, and it was his run really that changed the game, wasn't it? In terms of the scores anyway. But it wouldn't have been done without Faf. It wouldn't have been done without the work that Faf did in the first half. But then you bring him on, and he just gives you something extra. Any space, anywhere around the rucks, he's like a knife through butter.
Yeah, just one more from me, Alex, in terms of the fans. Obviously, we're back last Friday, and expect obviously this week as well with the final home game before the playoffs. How much of an influence did they have last week, kind of in that first half when you were having to dig deep, and as you say, you won the game in that first half, and how much of an influence will there be on Friday? We're expecting another cracker.
I think the sound system had its own influence. I couldn't hear myself think. I was right on the touchline. It was so loud. The crowd was brilliant. It was a great atmosphere, and you forget how much you missed it. I ended up talking in the end of week meeting that it's great having the crowd back, but we don't need them. That's the wrong for me to say that. That's the wrong thing. I said it because I wanted us to eliminate all the white noise, and that being crowd press and everything that comes at this point in the season, that we focus on what's important to us. But having them there, feeding off that energy, when you're on your own line or you're pounding away 5 minutes from theirs, it definitely gives you a motivational, a bit of an energy boost, and the lads fed off it as well at the weekend. So I'm really happy that we're back there again and we can experience that again, that Sale crowd, and we build that atmosphere as we're building our performances as well.
Great stuff. Cheers, Alex. Good luck.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, hi Alex. Could I ask you, how excited are you to work with young players such as Rafi?
It's probably one of the biggest buzzes I get, to be honest, because you can have a real impact in someone's, I don't want to sound too evangelical here, in someone's life, not just the playing career. I am best mates with Jamie George and some of those lads and Maru Toji and stuff, and then it's those relationships that I probably value more than I do a lot of the stuff that I won with Saracens, because them's the things that transgress, that transcend your stint in an organisation. So I'm going through that journey again with some of these young lads, and what makes it more the more special is that they're all northern. They all speak my language, and a lot of them are from Kirkham, my old school. So I get to really understand their journey from schoolboy to superstar. Hopefully, that's the aim. So yeah, it gives me a massive buzz week to week seeing them progress.
Do you feel it your job to actually turn them into superstars, as you just said?
No, I could never do that. I'm not that good. I wish I could. If you could do that, well, I'd be like Bill Belichick or that guy who coached the. I'm not even comparing myself to those greats. No, what I want to do is create an environment that lets them flourish, an environment where they're happy, an environment where they get to be a more well-rounded human being. I want them interested in stuff other than rugby. I want them industrious away from the training ground. I feel that transfers. I want them to be good people as well as good players. I find the two things correlate. The rest is up to them. The rest, if you provide the environment, the opportunity, then they'll find their way. But they've got to have that opportunity first. So I see it as my charge to provide the opportunity for them, give them all the support they can so they can make it themselves.
That's kind of the Nigel Ray influence, isn't it? Investing in people, if you like, not just as the rugby player, but to invest in them as a person.
Nigel Ray, Brendan Ventnor, Mark McCall, the whole philosophy down there was to care for the person before the player. Very much so. I've been indoctrinated in that philosophy, but it's our philosophy here. Sid Sutton, Simon Orange, Jed Mason, they're all behind it. They're all understanding now the importance of investing in the person and what they give back to you tenfold down the line.
And I suppose if you invest in them and you build them up, then it's good for sale because because hopefully that will translate into the performance. Sorry, I'm crap at asking these kind of questions. They're a bit too...
No, that's the philosophy, but it's quite, you know, everyone looks at the training methodology and the sports science and the minutes you spend out there and how that transfers into the game at the weekend, and that's all the tangible stuff. I've said this before, it's all the tangible stuff, it's all the stuff you can measure. What we're talking about is untangible. So if it's difficult to vocalise, I'm not surprised. How do you ask questions about things which seem a little bit fluffy maybe? And you have to ask the question, I truly believe in it. And the alternative is, I probably wouldn't want to do it the other way. I wouldn't get as much enjoyment out of just doing the rugby, because there's more to life than the game. I know that sounds a bit silly, doesn't it, in a pre-match interview, but there has to be more to life in the game. And I feel that those people who have more to their life than just the game are the ones that prosper within it. All the best players are most industrious, in my experience. Owen Farrell's, he's the busiest. That growth mindset, that appetite to improve constantly outside the game flows through you when you're on the field.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for your time, mate.
Cheers, mate. You good? Any more? You all right, Will?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I did have one. I'm just wondering, like, obviously, playoff secured, looking to see if you can get a home semi-final. Like, how much has your approach changed? Maybe thinking you maybe have to go for a bonus point before going to face Exeter.
No, I think it's all momentum first. Keep a momentum in terms of just keep winning, win the game first. I've never been one for bonus points. They are what they are, the bonus points. So, look, we just want to win every game, be it home semi-final or not. I think that feel and the consistency within the team now we've got it is the main thing to drive.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, like, you and the players, they're a bit more motivated after having the game last time out with home fans to say, you know, we can get a home semi-final, that's what we got behind us?
It's on the horizon, and the not too distant horizon. We're really trying to narrow the focus to what we need to do against Quins this weekend and use that little bit of north-south animosity as a motivator.